Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna make a top 10 best JRPG series of all time. Please remember that this is my personal opinion. Number 10. The Shining series. The Shining series belonged to Sega and they began in 1991 with the Mega Drive. Most of its first titles are either turn-based or strategy RPGs. There are several titles for the Sega Saturn, Game Boy Advance and PlayStation 2, where, sad to say, the series met their demise. Of course, they continued to make them for the Nintendo DS, the PSP, the PS3, but none of them have left Japan. Anyway, it's such a great series, too bad they died with the PS2 titles, which actually are pretty decent, especially Shining Force Exa. Number 9. The Ys or YS series, however you wish to pronounce it. The Ys series are actually older than the Shining series, believe it or not. The franchise began in 1987 on consoles like the MSX2. Yeah, you probably have never heard of it. But they never left Japan until Ys 3 Wanderers of the Ys for the Super Nintendo. This is such an amazing series of action RPGs with a hack and slash battle system. In all of them you play as Adol Christine and is the protagonist, and in most of them you have no party members. Well, anyway, with over 16 titles released, Ys takes the 9th place on my list. It's definitely an awesome series and it deserves more attention than it already has. Number 8. Yeah, I have to start with a big sigh because Suikoden is one of my best. It is my personal favorite JRPG franchise of all time. It actually should be number 1 on this list, but it stays in the 8th place because there were only 10 titles, 5 of them being spin-offs that, aren't really good as the canon series. Great turn-based strategy RPGs with hundreds of characters to recruit for your army against evil empires. It began in 1995 and, sad to say, died in 2012 with a PSP title that never left Japan. I truly hope the team can one day clarify their differences to revive this masterful JRPG series. Number 7. The Xeno series. Oh god, such an awesome one. It began in 1998 with Xenogears for the PlayStation 1, which was supposed to be Final Fantasy VII. Yeah! Several events led it to turn into its own game, and that is one of the greatest decisions in RPG making of all time. Such a masterpiece, that game, Xenogears, just like the trilogy for the PS2, Xenosaga, beautiful, amazing games, very unique, very original, and you all know already of the huge success of Xenoblade Chronicles for Nintendo, for the Nintendo Wii, the Nintendo Wii U, excellent games as well. This series, by the way, is developed by Monolith Software, and all we have to do right now is to wait for the amazing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for the Wii U, coming soon. Oh no, for the Nintendo Switch, yeah, you got that right. Number 6. Phantasy Star, another amazing series from Sega that began in 1987 on the Master System. The first 4 titles are turn-based RPGs, 2, 3, and 4 being for the Sega Genesis. Actually, Phantasy Star 4 is extremely good. Then they turn into action RPGs when they released Phantasy Star Online for the Dreamcast. Along came Phantasy Star Universe for the PS2 and its sequels for the PSP. Sad to say, the newest title, Phantasy Star Nova for the PS Vita, has never been released outside Japan. Wow, is this series dead? We'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, it's such an amazing series. I strongly recommend any title of them. Number 5. Yep, Final Fantasy. Oh dear, so much to say about this series, but nothing that you don't already know. It is the most famous JRPG series of all time, being extremely popular with over 15 canon titles and a huge library of spin-offs. It began in 1987 with the first game developed by the genius Hironobu Sakaguchi for the NES. Sad to say, most of the latest titles like Final Fantasy X2 or Final Fantasy XIII are really bad, with Final Fantasy XV being their most recent title, which is pretty decent by the way. Let us hope they clean their name one day after the enormous mess they left before. I kind of think it will happen unless they bring their brilliant writer Sakaguchi back, but let's not lose hope. Anyway, it stays on my list because it's simply one of the best JRPG franchises of all time. And now to number 4, Fire Emblem. Yeah, awesome strategy RPG series and one of my personal favorite. To me, this is considered the best strategy RPG franchise of all time. I am sad to say it currently has its own fan base terribly divided. Older fans and newer fans, which were actually introduced with the 3DS titles, which actually saved the franchise a few years ago from certain death, hate each other. Now, I know the 3DS titles have their flaws, but they're still great games. I seriously don't concur with this mutual hatred, but whatever, to each their own. Number 3. Dragon Quest. Yeah, it just had to be on the list, right? Even though I'm not a fan of it, I admit this is one of the most wonderful and beautiful JRPG series of all time. It started back then for the NES in 1986, yes, being older than Final Fantasy. All the games are turn-based RPGs, and this series has over 11 canon titles and several other spin-offs, such as the new hack-and-slash Dragon Quest Heroes for the PS4. There's not much to say about this series that you don't already know. Needless to mention the 3 masterminds behind it all, game developer Yuji Horii, composer Koichi Sugiyama, and the artist Akira Toriyama, also known for drawing the Dragon Ball series. Awesome JRPG franchise and truly one of the very best. Come on, it's Dragon Quest. You know of it, I know you know of it, we all agree it's one of the best. Number 2. Tales of. You might want to crucify me for saying that the Tales of series deserve a higher place on my list than the Dragon Quest ones, but you know, I don't really care. I believe these action JRPGs are absolutely incredible. It is one of my favorite JRPG series of all time, ever since their beginning in 1995 for the Super Famicom. With over 16 canon titles and various successful spin-offs, the Tales of series has positioned itself among the best JRPG franchises out there. I love this series. In my opinion, there isn't a single bad Tales of game, and yes, I am including the Nintendo DS titles. Really, it just had to be number 2 on my list. Yeah, you wish to know which one is the number 1? Just wait and see. But anyway, Tales of, excellent franchise. Yeah, so now number 1. Of course, the Megami Tensei series, Shin Megami Tensei. Wow, what a wonderful franchise. Deep stories, deep gameplays, psychological and obscure plots, great music, great art, great everything. How can this awesome series not be my number 1? Well, while not being my favorite, I just have to admit that Shin Megami Tensei is the very best JRPG series nowadays. With over 20 different titles, tremendously good series like Devil Survivor or Persona, which is actually the most famous one, this franchise has proved to exceed all expectations ever. I strongly recommend any title from this series. Most of the games are just that good, so it had to be number 1, no doubt about it. And now, for the end of this video, some honorable mentions. Pokemon. I don't like Pokemon, you know that, but it just had to be on the honorable mention. Atelier series for the PS2 and PlayStation 3, great series. Dot Hack, come on, Dot Hack is the best hack and slash RPG ever. Second to Tales of, that is. Disgaea. What else is on the list? Breath of Fire. You know, most of these franchises are small. Most of them are already dead, like Grow Lancer. But they could have been on my list, but either, like I said, they're just too small right now, or they're just plain dead. Except for the World of Mana. The Mana series are just big enough, but I like the other 10 better. Anyway guys, thanks for watching this video, I hope you like it, and see you the next time. So to say, thanks for watching and gracias!